The emergency sirens echoed through the halls of the Galactic Research Station Osiris-7, their piercing wails sending every being into immediate lockdown protocol. Commander Vexter, a towering Kralian with 4 arms and chitinous plating, rushed toward the containment wing, his secondary hearts pounding in rhythm with his primary. Status report. He barked into his communicator. Sir, Specimen X991 has breached primary containment, came the panicked voice of Lieutenant Jira. It's loose in the residential sector. Vexter's blood ran cold. Specimen X991, the Void Reaper, as it had been nicknamed, was the most lethal organism ever catalogued in known space. Discovered on a desolate moon in the Orpheus cluster, the creature possessed retractable molecular edge claws capable of slicing through reinforced titanium, reflexes that operated faster than most species could perceive, and a predatory intelligence that had already claimed 3 researchers during initial containment. The creature was death incarnate, a perfect killing machine wrapped in sleek, midnight black fur. Evacuate all personnel from sectors 7 through 12, Vexter commanded, and get me the human consultant. Now Gregory Chen was in his quarters when the summons came. The 20-8-year-old xenobiologist had been reviewing his notes on Earth's ecosystem contributions to galactic science when Commander Vexter's face appeared on his display, all 4 eyes wide with what Gregory had learned to recognize as Kralian terror. "We need you in the residential sector immediately," the commander said without preamble. "And bring your colleague." Gregory found Olivia Rodriguez already in the corridor, her dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, emergency medkit slung over her shoulder. The 31-year-old exobiologist had been humanity's other representative on Osiris-7 for the past 8 months. "You heard?" she asked. "The Void Reaper's out," Gregory confirmed. "They want us on the response team." Olivia raised an eyebrow. "Because humans are expendable, or because they think we can actually help?" "Probably both." They arrived at the residential sector to find it transformed into a military staging ground. Armed security personnel from a dozen species huddled behind barriers, weapons trained on the sealed blast doors. The air thrummed with nervous energy and barely suppressed fear. "It went in there 20 minutes ago," Vexter explained, gesturing toward the human residential quarters. "We've been monitoring via external sensors. It hasn't come out." "Casualties?" Olivia asked, her voice professional despite the situation. "Unknown. The resident inside hasn't responded to communications." Gregory and Olivia exchanged glances. There were only 3 humans on the station. That meant the creature was in one of their rooms. "Whose quarters?" Gregory asked quietly. "Residential Unit H to Jira answered. "Assigned to Dr. Sarah Chen." Gregory's stomach dropped. Sarah was his younger sister, a botanist studying alien plant life. She was 24, brilliant, and had never been in a dangerous situation in her life. "I'm going in," Gregory said immediately. "Absolutely not," Vexter countered. "That creature is my sister is in there." Gregory's voice carried a weight that made even the 4-armed commander pause. "We're going in now." Olivia was already checking her med. "He's not going alone." The universal truth that Vexter had learned about humans over the past months was that they were impossibly stubborn when it came to their pack members. He could order them to stand down, but he'd seen enough human history files to know how that would end. "Fine," he conceded, "but you wear full protective gear, and we send in drones first." The drones lasted exactly 45 seconds before their feeds went dark, destroyed by something moving faster than their cameras could track. Gregory felt his chest tighten with fear for Sarah, but he forced himself to remain calm. Panic wouldn't help her override the door, he said. "We're going in manually." The blast door hissed open, and Gregory and Olivia stepped through. Their weapons raised but not activated, a deliberate choice that made Vexter's translator emit a sound of distress. The residential unit was dark except for the soft glow of Sarah's plant specimens lining the walls. Gregory moved forward cautiously, his eyes adjusting to the dim light. Behind him, he could hear Olivia's steady breathing and the distant murmur of the security team watching their helmet cam feeds. "Sarah," Gregory called softly. "Sarah, it's Greg. Can you hear me?" A sound came from the living area, soft, rhythmic, and completely unexpected. It was purring. Gregory rounded the corner and stopped dead in his tracks. Olivia nearly collided with him, then gasped at the scene before them. Sarah sat cross-legged on her couch, very much alive and completely unharmed. Curled in her lap, its sleek black body rising and falling with contented breaths, was Specimen X991, the galaxy's deadliest creature, the Void Reaper. The organism that had killed 3 researchers and terrified an entire space station was fast asleep. its head resting on Sarah's knee. Sarah looked up at them with a finger pressed to her lips in the universal gesture for silence. In her other hand, she held a small device that Gregory recognized as a laser pointer. "Yup, petting it," Olivia whispered in disbelief. "Her," Sarah corrected quietly. "Her name is Midnight, and she's not an it, she's a cat," Gregory repeated, his brain struggling to process the information. "Well, not an Earth cat, obviously," Sarah continued, her hand moving in slow, gentle strokes along the creature's back. "But the behavioral patterns are almost identical." She was scared, probably stressed from all the tests and containment protocols. She just needed someone to show her some kindness. Through their helmet feeds, they could hear Commander Vexter's translator struggling to interpret the situation. "Your sister is ... domesticating the Void Reaper. It's what we do," Olivia said, lowering her weapon and approaching slowly. She knelt beside the couch, extending her hand carefully. The creature Midnight opened one eye, regarded Olivia with a gaze that held millennia of predatory evolution, then nudged her head against Olivia's palm. Purring louder, "I don't understand," came Jira's voice over the cum. "The creature killed 3 researchers. Did they try to pet it or torture it?" Sarah asked pointedly. "Because there's a difference." Gregory finally allowed himself to breathe. He moved to sit on Sarah's other side, watching as his sister continued to stroke the lethal predator as if it were a common house pet. The creature's claws, those molecular edge weapons that could slice through titanium, were retracted, its body completely relaxed. "You realize," Gregory said slowly, "that you've just domesticated what the entire galaxy considers an apex predator?" Sarah smiled. "Wouldn't be the first time humanity did that." Olivia laughed, the sound breaking the tension. "She's right. We turned wolves into chihuahuas, wildcats into Persians. We saw something deadly and thought, I'm going to befriend that. It's the human way." Sarah agreed, scratching behind Midnight's ears. The creature stretched luxuriously, extending her claws briefly before retracting them again, completely non-threatening. Commander Vexter appeared in the doorway, flanked by a dozen armed guards. He stared at the scene for a long moment, his translator emitting sounds that suggested his species' equivalent of exasperated disbelief. "Humans," he finally said, "are the most terrifying species in the galaxy." "Because we can kill?" Gregory asked. "No," Vexter replied. "Because you look at death itself and decide to make it purr." Sarah grinned, continuing to pet Midnight. "Want to learn how to approach her safely. She's actually very sweet once you get to know her." As word spread through the station of what had transpired, the galaxy's perception of humanity shifted once again. They were already known as the species that had survived their own death world, that thrived in conditions that would kill most others. But this was something else entirely. Humanity, it seemed, didn't just survive deadly things. They befriended them, domesticated them, made them family. They saw teeth and claws and apex predator instincts and thought not threat but potential friend. Months later, Midnight became something of a station mascot, though she still slept most often in Sarah's quarters. Other species watched in amazement as humans walked with the creature, played with her, taught her tricks. Research teams revised their protocols, adding attempt peaceful contact before established containment. And somewhere in the Galactic Council chambers, a new notation was added to humanity's file: approach with caution. Species shows unprecedented ability to form bonds with hostile organisms. Recommend diplomatic rather than military first contact protocols. But perhaps most importantly, it reminded the galaxy of a simple truth: the deadliest thing in the universe isn't always the creature with the sharpest claws. Sometimes, it's the creature that can convince the one with sharp claws to sleep peacefully in its lap.